Hey guys, what's going on? Absolutely Beast here. Bringing you guys an update today. They actually announced the final list of cars today for Forza Motorsport 7. So I'm going to kind of be going through those with you. Thanks guys for being here. Thanks for checking this out, taking the time to click on it. If you end up liking my stuff or you want to see more, make sure you check out my channel. There's plenty of other videos, especially in the last couple months of Forza 7, and then no gameplay though, just discussion videos. And then subscribe if you like my content. Check back soon. I've been trying to bring you anything that comes up as far as news. And of course, as soon as the game goes live, I do have the Ultimate Edition, so I'll be playing it the last week of September, which is just a few weeks away, 3-4 weeks away here. Make sure you check back because I'll be putting up tons of gameplay and stuff. And then when the 1X launches in November, on the 7th, I'll be putting up 4K gameplay also, which is going to be so fatty. So make sure you guys check back for that. Make sure you come back for that. And there will be stuff in the meantime. Don't worry. Just that's what I'm looking forward to. So anyway, I want to jump right into it. Generally, I research these as much as possible. I like to research the cars and know exactly what I'm talking about. I want to put up a video. I want to make sure the information's thorough. I don't just want to just read off a list and ramble and stuff like that. But then again, I also don't want to skip and read like 2 cars off the list that I think are interesting, because I know everybody has a little bit different interests in what they're hoping for. But in this case, now that we've gotten to these racing cars, it's much harder to find information on these. Like I spent an hour researching, and I really only had notes down for about 6 or 8 of these cars, which is just unacceptable to me. And I don't have 6 hours to spend researching these to put them up. This is obviously just a thing that I do in my free time because I enjoy it, but I don't have that kind of time to spend on it. So anyway, yeah. So I've got a bunch at the top, and then I'll sort of just scroll through. I'll read some of the ones that are interesting, and I will link the article so you can check out the full list if you want. And also, AR12 Gaming put up a video about this, but it was early. I checked yesterday multiple times, and there was no information yet on the cars, and he had already put up a video just an hour or 2 after that, and I got really mad and thought that maybe I messed up, and I went and looked, and there was nothing. So I don't know how he found the information. I mean, maybe the list was leaked elsewhere, but yeah, it wasn't on the Forza Motorsport website. So anyway, yeah, this is driving with the Lotus E23 Formula 1 car. It sucks, by the way. I'm sorry, but it absolutely blows. And then the Audi R18 Quattro, which I thought was in P class, but I didn't realize till the very end of the race. You'll see me pause it at the end of the race and check, realize it was in X class, which is why I was struggling to pass anybody, and I didn't realize that. So anyway, please excuse the horrific driving. I mean, this car just absolutely sucks. I'm sorry, but it just does. So anyway, so let's jump right in. So you have the 2015 Alumi, or Alumi, I'm not sure how to say that, Craft Class 10 race car. Found no information on this. Did find some pictures. It's kind of like an off-road, like an off-road, almost like a Baja truck type thing. So you have the 1986 Audi number 2 Sport Quattro S1. So this was actually the start of the Quattro, which we all know today from Audi, the 4-wheel drive system. The Quattro was actually the first production car, all-wheel drive, that was on a center locking, or center differential. So that's kind of cool. And then you have the 89 Audi 90 Quattro, the IMSA GTO. So the 90 was a iteration of the 89, and the 90 ended up being a 5-cylinder engine, so it was a little bit untraditional in that sense. You have a 2011 number 2 Team Yost R15++ TDI. So the R15 is the sister car or brother car to the R18. It is the open-top car. And the plus is because in 09 was the year that car came out, and then 2010 was a little bit of a revision, being the plus. 2010, or 2011, excuse me, was a second revision, so plus. Powered by a V10 instead of a V12, and they moved it closer to the center, so it has better weight characteristics and handling and stuff like that through the corners. You have the 2012, the R18 from Team Yost, the e-tron Quattro, which I'll be driving later in the race, which is an epic car, using the hybrid technology, and just the small 6-cylinder engine. And man, that thing's great. Legendary car, won a bunch of Le Mans. Then you have a 2014 version of that, which is a little bit more updated, a little bit more power. They reduced some things, like they banned the exhaust blown manifold, or the exhaust blown diffusers and stuff like that. Which, yeah, by the way, if you guys haven't heard this video, it's one of the most epic videos I've ever seen. So my friend tipped me off to it. So you basically just type in Monza blown diffuser F1, and you can check out this Red Bull car coming in with the exhaust blown over the diffuser, and it sounds like the car's about to explode. It's one of the sickest things I've ever heard. So then you have the 2014, the Flying Lizard Motorsports R8 LMS Ultra. We've had that for a couple of Forzas, at least Motorsports, so that's nothing new, but that's a cool one. You have a 2014 the Rotec Racing S3 Saloon. Saloon means a four-door car, so it's a smaller car, but it's still a four-door car. Then you've got a 2017 Bentley, the Liqui Moly M Sport Continental GT3. So just a few months ago, when they had the Bathurst race, I flipped it on. I woke up and that was on TV, and I believe the Bentley won, or it was up in contention for a while when I was watching it for about an hour. So that was kind of cool. So that car I know. You have a 1975 BMW Motorsport 3.0 CSL. So generally, an L in a BMW nomenclature stands for long, but in this case, it stood for light. A lot of these cars, we've talked about this before, but a lot of these cars they make are homologation race cars, which basically means they have a series that they want to compete in, so they build a car for it. But these series require you to use a production car. So what they do is they just produce a limited amount of these cars, just as many as they need to make it a quote production car technically, and then that way they can actually use it in the series and stuff like that. And that's what that car was. They use like thinner door steering, thinner steel body panels, thinner windows, stuff like that to lighten the weight. So you have a 79 BMW M1 Pro car. So this was developed, supposedly it was supposed to be developed in conjunction with Lamborghini, but then Lamborghini ended up pulling out. And so BMW just made their own. And they were actually trying to get a classification for another class of car, and they needed to build more of them. So they actually created their own series, the BMW M1 Pro Car series, so that they could make them. And actually, funny story, Niki Lauda actually won that series one year in like '79, which is pretty crazy actually, considering that he was doing Formula 1 just a couple years earlier. And yeah, so anyway, small world. Then you have the two BMW V12 LMRs. You have a number 15 and a number 16. So there's also a number 17 car. From the info I could find, the number 15 and the number 17 were the cars that actually raced. One of the cars they said had a very specific art thing that was done in tradition with the BMW tradition, or in keeping with BMW tradition, and that one didn't end up racing. And then also they had one car that was wrecked really badly early on and had some frame damage and stuff, so that one never raced. But those two cars, the V12 LMR was developed in conjunction with Williams F1 Racing from F1 Racing, and this was the only time that BMW entered Le Mans, and they actually won. The number 17 car crashed really hard. His throttle got stuck coming through the Porsche curves, and he had a pretty bad wreck. And then it was down to just the number 15 car or a Toyota GT1, and the number 15 ended up outlasting the Toyota. The GT1 Toyota had a big tire blowout at high speed, and that was the end of the race for him. So next you have the Rahal Letterman M3 GT2, number 92 from '09. I didn't realize this, but the Letterman in Rahal Letterman is actually David Letterman. He's part owner of this race team, which I actually didn't know. But this car this particular car was driven by Tommy Milner and then Dirk Mueller. And they took third in the team championship that year, and then fourth in the drivers. So you have a BMW eBay Motors 125 M Sport. You have a couple of Z4 GTEs. You have the number 55 and number 56. Those are cars that we've had before in Forza, especially Forza 6. So you have a 1967 Brabham BT24, which actually won F1 this year in 1967. The engine was designed by a company, I believe it's called Resco, and I mentioned this car like 2 weeks ago or last week. One of the sickest exhausts I've ever seen on a car. It kind of comes up through the engine and exits out the center. And that was at special request from Brabham. They were having some trouble in the previous years routing the exhaust pipes out through the suspension linkage in the back. So they asked them if they could make an exhaust that would dump out through the center of the V or through the top of the V so that they could avoid issues. And so that's why it looks like that, which I thought was pretty cool. Then you have the Chaparral from 1966, the Chaparral Cars 2E. This is a legendary car. If you see it, you'd know. It's a massive, massive, massive wing. This is one of the first cars to use real aero like that. They actually use the wing because if you look at cars before that, they're just sort of like an open, they look like a fuselage with wheels. And this car used this big old spoiler and had really advanced aerodynamics. So they actually had a clutch type pedal that they could push down that would flatten out the wing for straights and stuff, so they have less drag, and then it actually closed the nostrils at the front of the car so it wasn't intaking air. It was much more aerodynamically sound. which is pretty cool. But this car actually only won one race in its lifetime, and that was at Laguna Seca. It was a Can-Am car, a Canadian-American Series car, which is the same as that McLaren that I always used to drive. But they had opted for a lighter engine, a 5.3-liter aluminum V8. Most of the guys at the time were using 6 and 7-liter iron V8s, so they swapped power for weight and ended up only winning one race. But yeah, so anyway, you have a couple of Chevy Orecas, FLM09. These were just chassis that were designed. These are sort of like feeding, I don't know, they're almost like minor league teams in baseball. They're just like, you know, lower class of racers that were designed just to sort of train people up. You have a couple of those. You have a Corvette Racing CR1 from 2011. You have a 2014 C7R. You have a 2014 Chevy Cruze. You have a 2015 Corvette Daytona prototype, the Konica Minolta, which is one that I found that's like a mid-engine Corvette, basically, it looks like. 1979 Datsun Bob Sharp Racing 280ZX Turbo. Couldn't really find anything on that car, but it looks really sick. Almost looks like a Pikes Peak type climb car. I'm not saying that's what it's used for, but 2014 SRT Motorsports Viper GTSR. You have the Ford number 2 GT40 from Le Mans, the MK2, which is the one that won Le Mans 3 years in a row. You have a couple more Fords. You have a couple Capri Turbos. You have the Formula Ford EcoBoost, which is like, again, like a feeder type racing class into Formula One. It's like a lesser, you know, it looks like a Formula One car almost, but nowhere near as big or powerful. And you have a Rockstar F-150 trophy truck. You have the Chip Ganassi Racing, the Riley Daytona prototype, which is a car that's in this game, Forza 6. It's, you know, it's almost, I don't even know, it's almost like an Audi type, you know, Audi R18 type car with extreme braking. So you have a couple more Fords. The Ford Falcon is returning. The Xbox Ford Falcon is returning. F-150 Racing Raptor truck. You've got a couple of Holdens, the VF Commodores, the Racing Commodore. Some more Holdens, more Commodores. You have a couple of Hondas, the Civics from the WTCC. You got a couple of Jaguars, 2014, then a couple of late 80s Jaguars. You've got some Lancias, which we talked about before. You've got the Lolas, which is a car that the Ford GT40 was based off of. You have a bunch of Mazdas, including the Mazda 787B. Actually, there's two Mazda 787Bs, which is ridiculous. One of the greatest sounding cars of all time. That car sounds like a vacuum cleaner or something, man. It's just ridiculous. You got a couple of ones. You got a Formula Mazda. You've got some more Mercedes. You've got the Tank Pool racing truck, which we've seen in action at the E3 demo. You've got the A-Class Mercedes. You've got the SLS GT3. You've got the C9 AMG GT3, you've got the E63 AMG, you've got a Mercury Cougar from 1990, a bunch of Nissans, the GTR Le Mans Nismo, you got the Nismo Moltec, the Motul Autech GTR, you've got the Nissan R382 from 1969, which is the V12 Nissan, Peugeot, you got a couple of Peugeots, 905, the 908, Sport Total 908, you've got a couple of Formula E's to round it out. RJ Anderson, Rockstar Energy Pro 2 truck. Got a couple of Subaru racing cars, WRX STIs for rally cars. You've got a 93 Toyota T100 Baja truck. From my count, there's less than 10 Toyotas. You've got that one, and then you've got the 92 Toyota All-American Racers, which was a turbo Toyota engine. They had some cool aero effects, so they actually painted the back of the front wheels black because they were trying to hide their little innovations. Yeah, they blew up. Apparently, they blew up 4 dynos testing this engine out. They got 800 horsepower out of a 2-liter engine, and they won 9 out of 13 races that season, including 7 in a row. Actually made Nissan and Jaguar withdraw from that competition after that year. And then, of course, you have the Renault RS17, which is the one I'm looking most forward to. Which is the 2017 Formula 1 cars with enhanced aero, 1.6 liter, a V6, 15,000 RPM, and then the NASCARs are making a return, and there's a couple of Toyota Camrys in the NASCAR too, but that's it for Toyota. So guys, final cars, like I said, it's about 720-ish cars, which is about 4% variance in the car, so I could have just miscounted, but thank you guys for checking this out. Make sure you check back soon. Make sure you subscribe if you like my stuff, and I'll see you out there. Thanks, guys.